Hey everyone, this is Rob from Revelation Rain. Just coming at you with a brief video to share with you a couple of different things. First of all, this has been a tumultuous week or so for the band. If you've been watching the posts that have gone up, the posts on our website and Facebook, and then also a video had gone up here on YouTube, which was later taken down. You know then already that there's been some changes within the band. And I'm not going to get into the details of what happened or who said what. That's not important. What is important is that after much deliberation, much going back and forth, and a whole lot of just, I guess, looking at the personality differences in the band, Revelation Rain is no more. The band has completely dissolved. Okay. As some of you already know, there was an incident that happened, which resulted in Marty leaving the band. And JT, myself, and Grant at that point had a decision to make. Do we end the band or do we carry on? Do we get a new bass player and move forward? And the three of us talked for a while and came to the decision, and it seemed right at the time, that the three of us would get a new bass player and move forward. And we had reached out to a bass player who was willing to step in and audition for the band. We never made it to that point, but he was willing to do so. And unfortunately, it didn't work out because another disagreement occurred. And again, the details aren't important. But that resulted in JT and I making the move to align, as far as musically, with Marty. Okay, so JT and I decided that we felt it would be a better fit if JT, myself, and Marty continued Revelation Rain with a new drummer. Okay, and that didn't last long, and for good reason. JT and I had a nice long chat, a heart-to-heart, so to speak, and we both came to the conclusion that Revelation Rain is JT, Marty, Grant, and myself. And if you change one thing, one person, you change everything. Okay, each of us was truly 25% of the band. Okay, this is the only band I've ever been in that was set up that way, where each person had equal input. Each person played their own instrument, could sing vocals, could write songs, was adamant about being a visual band. Okay, good stage show, visual representation, all of that. This band was everything I ever wanted. But as in any relationship, whether it's professional or personal, you're going to have personality conflicts sometimes. And we've had that. Every band has. And we've worked through them. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, this time, the issue at hand, from certain people's perspective, is too far gone. There's too much that's been said, too much anger that's been exchanged, and so because of that, there's two people in the band that no longer want to work together. And even that has kind of shifted some. And I don't want to get into details, but let's just say we're at the point of no return. Okay, and it doesn't matter who those people are or whatever. I'm not here to disparage anybody in the band. If anything, this is a video to kind of commemorate everything that we've accomplished over the past 1 year. But anyway, a while ago, we had all said that this band is the four of us. It's the chemistry of these four people, these four personalities, good, bad, indifferent, with all our quirks and all our warts and everything else. That's what made Revelation Rain work, okay? And for a moment, JT and I and Grant thought we could carry on without Marty, and then JT and I and Marty thought we could carry on without Grant. And the fact of the matter is, I don't want to be in any other band other than Revelation Rain, and I don't want for there to be anyone in that band but the four of us. And JT felt the same way. And I think Grant does as well, okay? I think Grant has come around to that point of view again, because he shared it before. I think he's come to that point of view again. So with that being said, like I said, there's still a little bit of, I don't know. There's something, Marty doesn't feel that he can work within the confines of this band as it stands right now with the three existing members that would be in the band as well. Okay. And I respect everybody's decision. Absolutely. And I have no ill will toward anybody. There was obviously some disagreements between the four of us, which led to all of this happening. But, at a certain point, you just realize that there's no need to hang on to resentment. There's no need to not forgive. There's no need to stay angry. So we can't be in a band together, at least at this point. But I still consider all three of those guys to be my friends. And bar none, they're the best musicians I've ever worked with, ever. And when I think back over everything we accomplished in 1 year, this breakup of the band, sure, there's some sadness and there's some discouragement, some frustration involved, but I can't help but just smile and be happy because this band accomplished more in 1 year than what most bands do in 5 years. And that's not being arrogant, that's just the truth. We finalized our lineup June 26th of 2020. In the midst of the big shutdown and whatever else, this band continued to play live. We played live all throughout last year, despite the shutdown. Despite the shutdown, this band recorded 2 full-length albums. Okay, 2 full-length albums. We wrote close to 30 songs, maybe more. Played countless shows. Did some live streams. Did interviews. Appeared in several magazines. We were featured on several radio stations. This band has done so much. So despite the sadness that the band is broken up and the frustration that I feel personally, because I think that I don't think there's ever, well, I shouldn't say ever. I think there's very few scenarios in which you can't reconcile something. But that's from my perspective. And that doesn't make it more valid than somebody else's who feels that, everything that happened over the past week has taken us to the point of no return. And I don't understand it, but I respect it. Okay? So, anyway, I just wanted to also point out that there's a lot of people who helped us along the way. The places that we played live, like Aiden's Place and Randy's, the Music Box, the Music Factory, Hot Rocks. I mean, we've played a lot of places, and every single one of these venues was always good to us. Aiden's Place, that's the first place we ever played out live. We'd only been a band for 2 weeks. And we played our first live show at Aiden's Place in Sand Lake. And they are phenomenal people, good Christian people. They welcomed us back every time that we wanted to come there to play. They were always good to us. Some promoters that stand out to me and to us, I would say, for the band. Michael Montagna from Infused Productions. Penny, of course, from Sharp Talent, who has booked so many shows for us. And now I regret, because at this point I have not yet, because the decision is relatively new for the band to break up. I now need to contact all these promoters and let them know that we can't play the shows that we're scheduled to do. But Penny has been phenomenal. She's a wonderful person. Christina and Brian Warner from War Nation Entertainment, who did a couple of shows for us. Wonderful people. They're a newer promoting agency, but they're on the right track. I think they're going to do a lot of great things for a lot of really great bands. And speaking of bands, there's some bands we played with. We played with a lot of great bands. Fearless in particular. Those guys are just great. They were always good to us. They helped us to get a couple of shows. They liked our stuff so much that they actually helped to get us on a couple of shows. And Tony, you're a stand-up guy. We enjoy the times that we got to play with you guys. Phenomenal, great stuff. But also, of course, Pete Bass, the guy that produced both of our records. Phenomenal musician, a great guy, just a bundle of talent. And just can't say enough great things about Pete. If you listen to our albums, you'll know what a great producer Pete is. And again, I want to say, if you are in the Grand Rapids area and want to do some recording, Soundfield Studios, Pete Bass. You can't go wrong. Okay. Also, the people who distributed our CDs, CD Baby. They always did a phenomenal job for us. They did our digital distribution. They manufactured our CDs. Also, Digger's Factory. We were one of the few bands that I know of, local bands, that ever had one of their albums pressed to vinyl. And if we still have them if you want one. Our debut album, Vengeance Is Mine, is pressed to vinyl. And that's thanks to a wonderful company based in France called Digger's Factory. Check them out if you want to press anything to vinyl. They're great. Yeah, I'm probably missing people. I'm sure there's a lot of people that help to support us along the way. Grant, significant other, Jen, did wonderful things for us. Always was willing to help out with moving equipment, running the merch table for us, or just allowing us to make a lot of noise in her house every Friday. That speaks volumes. No pun intended. So my wife, who, although she's always at work, so she couldn't come to all the shows, but when she could, she did. She supported my crazy notions that I would come up with. When I'd be buying some crazy boots or, a 40-pound jacket to wear when it's 80 degrees outside. She would shake her head, but she would be supportive. And so I appreciate that too. There's just a lot of people, and I don't want to leave anyone out, but at the same time, I don't want to make this video too long. I'm watching the timer. I'm already at 14 minutes. I talk a lot, don't I? Anyway, I just want to say, as far as the guys in the band, there is an issue between two of the members. And if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm just going to tell you, and it's not to put anybody on the spot, but Marty and Grant had a disagreement, okay? And I'm saying this because, again, it goes back to, I don't think that there's, from my perspective, I don't think that there's very few situations where something can't be resolved and reconciled. However, that's my own personal perspective. Like I said, JT and I were willing to march on, either with Grant or with Marty. But then we decided it has to be the four of us. It has to be the four of us in order to be Revelation Rain. And Grant came around. He also saw the reality and in the agreement that the four of us had. If it's not the four of us, then it's not Revelation Rain. We won't move forward. Marty hasn't gotten to that point yet, and I understand that. I don't understand it from my own perspective, because like I said, I think there's very few things that cannot be reconciled, but I understand it from his point of view, and I respect his decision. So I'm not trying to disparage anyone. I'm just letting people know that is where the point of contention is. Marty feels that certain things that were said in this disagreement have pushed us past the point of no return. Again, I don't agree with that, but I respect his decision. And Marty is still my friend. I hope I'm still his friend. If you want to talk about great bass players, Marty would have to be in the conversation. He brought so much to the band, musically and otherwise. A great friend, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, smart, easy to get along with, but just a phenomenal bass player. I mean, he played in a way that I've never seen anyone else play, and that's because of his background. Very progressive type bass player, and he augmented our sound. I mean, in a phenomenal songwriter, a great vocalist. He didn't even know that he was going to be a good vocalist. Told that story before, but and he helped all of us to improve. When you have somebody like Marty in the band, you can't help but get better. Okay? Because if you don't get better, then there's something wrong with you. Okay? And Marty lit that fire under all of us. All right? And the same thing with JT. When Grant and I first started putting this band together, lightning struck twice. I mean, we got lucky twice with Marty and JT. And JT is singularly the greatest lead guitarist I've ever played with or even come across. We've told the story in several interviews. When we recorded our CDs, we recorded live. And when we would play those songs to get our basic tracks down, of course, you just lay your tracks down, and then later on, if you need to make some changes or fix anything, you do that. So we would play these tracks live, and JT would just nail out a guitar solo. And when we would play those basic tracks back and say, okay, well, I missed a note here, I need to fix this, whatever. We couldn't find anything that JT needed to fix or change. Every guitar solo that you hear on both of those albums are first take. That's just him ripping out a guitar solo because he's that good. Because he's that good. Also a great vocalist, great songwriter. Some of the best songs that we have, were written by JT and Marty. So you can't say enough about JT. A great guy, also very, very laid back, easy to get along with. It's one of those things where you truly appreciate someone's talent. And when you do that, it just makes the entire band better. Which takes me to Grant. Grant is the most solid drummer that I've ever played with. Very innovative. Always looking to make the song better. Always looking to add something to just give the song a little something more. And I like that. We all like that because a song is never really truly finished. Put it that way. You can write a song, have the lyrics, all the arrangements put in place, and you think, oh yeah, that's a great song. And then you play it a few times, and then all of a sudden you think, well, man, I could play this instead, and it would make the song a little bit better. A song is really, truly never finished. And Grant reminded us of that. A lot of times we'd bring in a song, we'd get it down, we would play it several times live, and then Grant would say, well, what if? And then we'd be like, yeah, that would make it better. And the same with Marty. Marty was great at that too. But Grant, as a drummer, was never content to just be the drummer. Okay, he wanted to sing, he wanted to help write, and he did both. So a more solid drummer you couldn't find. Um, in my opinion, a great guy. Okay, he and I are alike in a lot of ways, and sometimes that wasn't a good thing. We're both quite stubborn and outspoken and opinionated, and sometimes that can be hard for other people to deal with, and I understand that. Um, so I think a lot of times the intensity between Grant and I could sometimes be discouraging to JT and Marty, because a lot of times Grant and I would end up in a disagreement, and they could get pretty crazy sometimes. But again, that's why I'm of the opinion that nothing, or very rarely, can something not be reconciled. Grant and I have gone head to head on a number of occasions, probably 2 or 3 times, where it was pretty bad. Where we thought for sure the band was going to end at that point, and that Grant and I might go a couple of rounds, and neither one of us are violent, or we're not like that. But sometimes you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to have to take this guy out. And I'm sure he felt the same way about me, and rightfully so. But that's what made this band work, is those conflicting personalities, those nuances, those quirks, those good, bad, and the ugly. All of that is what makes this band work. And that's why I'm saying that even if I find, or Marty or JT finds, that sometimes it's hard to deal with Grant, as an example, or it could be me, if they find it's hard to deal with me, and I'm sure they have. You have to understand that it's that makes the band work. That's what makes the band work. And even though a particular person, whether it's myself or Grant, it may be hard to work with them at times, because they are so bullheaded and so set in their ways. Again, I just think that you can work with that and it can be reconciled. But I also understand other people's perspective, Marty and JT, and maybe Marty in particular in this case. You get to a point, I'm sure, where you're just like, I can't deal with this kind of tension, or I can't deal with this type of, energy or intensity or whatever it may be. And I understand that from that perspective, from another person's perspective, because I can only imagine, if I wasn't me, if I was someone else and I had to deal with me, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. So, full disclosure. So I understand everybody's perspective, even if I don't agree with it. And the reason I say that is because I don't want to disparage anyone. Okay? Like I said, these guys are still my friends, no matter what. I'm just really frustrated that the band is breaking up. And I will say this. I hope and wish the best for Grant, JT, Marty. And if they go on and do other musical projects and join other bands, more power to them. I support that 100%. But you'll never, ever, ever find a band like this one that we were in, the four of us. You might find people that can sing better, play better, write better songs, whatever else, but you'll never, ever have what this band, Revelation Rain, had. Just putting that out there, guys. Love you guys. You're still my friends. I support you, and I hope you guys do go on to make more music, because you guys are great. You're talented. You should do that. I'm considering it myself. Probably not in a band situation. I think I'll go back to doing what I was doing before Grant and I put Revelation Rain together. I'll probably just go into a studio, record my songs, and put them up on whatever platform I decide. And I hope everyone does stuff. I know JT had mentioned doing some instrumental stuff, and I think that'd be phenomenal. The guy can play like no one else, and I think he'd make some great music. And if Marty goes on to record on his own or finds a band to be in, more power to him, because he's a great bass player and he needs to be out there. He'd bring a lot to any band. The same for Grant. If Grant finds a band that needs a drummer, I tell you, a band would be stupid to pass up on Grant. Okay? He's a great drummer. But no matter what we do individually or in different bands, it will never be as good as what we had right here. Ever. This band, I just had a chemistry that is an anomaly. And as much as it frustrates me that the band is breaking up and saddens me that the band is breaking up, at this point I understand everyone's perspective as to why they feel it can work and why they feel it cannot work. So I understand everybody's perspective. And the only way that I would do this band, Revelation Rain, is if it's the four of us. So everyone, the four of us, would have to sit down and discuss all this stuff that's happened, settle the disagreements. There's been a lot of stuff said. I get that. There's been a lot of hurt. There's been a lot of anger, resentment, hostility. And so that's why I understand why it may not be possible now or even in the near future. I get that. But I'm hoping that somewhere down the line, we'll get in a room, we'll settle all this stuff, we'll make amends, we'll forgive, and then there'll be a Revelation Rain reunion or something. I don't know. I just hate to see this band go. It's been a part of my life for the past year. Every Friday I counted on going to rehearsal, and every weekend, or just about every weekend, especially this summer, looking forward to playing a show, or going into the studio to record a new album. We were looking at recording a third record and having it out either by the end of this year, early next year. And we're already writing songs. We have, I think Marty said he has 4 or 5 songs ready already. And I think JT said the same. I know I have at least 5 or 6 songs ready to go. Grant was working on some stuff. We had the next record almost completed, almost ready to go in the sense that the songs were written. Just a matter of getting them down and recording and all that good stuff. And I'd even come up with the album cover. We all contribute in different ways, but I seem to have a knack, with finding album covers that reflect what the album represents, and also in turn gives a visual presentation of what this band stood for. So maybe I'll put that idea up because at this point I don't think it's going to see the light of day anyway. So maybe I'll put that up somewhere. And speaking of what this band represents, from day one, Grant and I stated that this was going to be a Christian metal band, that Christ would always be at the center of this band. Now, we never really had a manager per se, but in essence, Jesus was our manager. We always said, as long as we keep Christ at the center of what we're doing, this band will do great things. And it did. We did. Like I said, 2 full-length albums, countless music videos on our YouTube channel, live performances, etc., etc. Oh, speaking of which, I want to do a shout out for South of the Straits. Great guys. They had us on their show a couple of times, and both times was a phenomenal experience. And I'm going to leave the YouTube channel up because that stuff still deserves to be heard. We have close to 300 subscribers, so obviously somebody likes what we're doing. So I'm going to leave the YouTube channel up so people can still continue to watch the videos, the live performances. I want to watch it sometimes. The Facebook page will come down shortly. I'm going to leave it up for a little while just so that this video gets out there. But yeah, we accomplished a lot in 1 year. And just one of those things, you have 4 distinct personalities, and there's this analogy that Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley always use. And I used to think it was really dumb. But now, after being in a band for a year, it makes total sense. And they always said that it's hard enough for a marriage with two people to survive, to make it. I mean, the divorce rate in America is at like 50%, which topic for another day, but that's sad. So imagine a relationship where you have four people. Try to make that work. Okay, if it's hard for a marriage between two people to work sometimes, then imagine when you have four distinct personalities with different backgrounds, different perspectives, different point of view, and now you have to put them all in one situation to make it work. The thing that made it work is that we all were singular in our devotion to the band and in our goal to make this the biggest band that we could. And I think we succeeded in that 1 year, by far. All of us were driven, motivated, ambitious, enthusiastic about what we were doing. I won't ever deny the passion that each person had for this band. Okay, and it manifested in different ways. You know, Marty made a lot of our videos, and whenever we would play live, we would record our shows, and Marty would painstakingly edit those shows and burn them to DVDs for us, and then some of them are up on the YouTube channel. You can watch those. Grant was always coming up with, making these collages of pictures and coming up with new merchandising ideas and whatever else. And JT was the same way. JT really stepped up in the past couple of months. I think he kind of came out of his shell, and he's like, well, what about that? He came up with these bracelets and all these things. Everybody expressed their enthusiasm for the band in a different way, but always for the same goal, to make this band as big as it could possibly be. And in 1 year, I think we did a whole lot. Like I said, it pains me that once I'm done making this video, I have to call up these promoters and cancel the shows that they've booked for us. One, because I know it's an inconvenience for them, but two, because those were our shows. We were supposed to be on those shows. You know what I mean? And there's nothing better when you're in a band than playing live. Recording CDs, writing songs, rehearsals, coming up with merchandising ideas, shooting videos, whatever else, all is great stuff. But nothing comes close. Nothing even compares to when you're on stage playing live. And I think that there are very, very few bands, and I'm talking about national acts or local acts, that come close to what we did live. Okay? For a local unsigned band, we put all the other bands to shame. Sorry, but it's the truth. Our live show, our visual representation, our presentation, how we dressed, how we looked, all of that superseded and exceeded every single band out there, period. Okay? And we played some great shows. We played at the Music Factory opening for Tim Ripper Owens. And no offense to the other opening bands. I mean, we went on first, and there were two bands after us, and then Ripper Owens played. And those other bands were great. Phenomenal musicians, great songs. But it looked like they had just left Walmart and then got up on stage and played a show. One guy's wearing Bermuda shorts, the other one's wearing, a tie-dye t-shirt and whatever else. Just stuff that they would wear every day. And I always thought, you're on holy ground, so to speak, when you're on that stage. You should look like something. You should look like a band. And we looked like a band. We didn't wear regular street clothes when we got up on stage. We wore what we would call like rock garb. And that's important. And we weren't content to just use the lights that the venue provided. We would bring our own lights too, and fog machines, and a confetti cannon, and all this other lasers and whatever else to make it big, to make it special. When people come to a live show, they're not just bringing their ears, they're bringing their eyes too. So if you're not going to give them something visually, then they may as well just sit home and listen to the CD, right? So we gave them something that other bands didn't, okay? And we stood out for that very reason, okay? It was important to us to be hitting on all cylinders, visually and obviously audio as well. We wanted it to be a complete experience. And that's the one thing I love about this band, is that we were all committed to that idea. Let's look like a band. Let's look like something. Let's not look like we just, rolled out of Walmart or whatever. Let's look like we put some time and effort into this thing. And we were always buying new stuff, new lights, new this, new that. And I'm a little bit also frustrated because we just came up with this great new effect for JT when we would go into The Ice Lord, a song that JT wrote and sings. And we came up with this whole new special effect for him, and we never got to use it. Such is life, but that's okay. That's the point, though, is that we were always thinking forward. What can we do to make this bigger and better? What can we do to stay 2, 3, 4, 10 steps ahead of everybody else? And that's why we got a lot of the opportunities that we did. September, we were going to open for Powerman 5000. You don't get those opportunities because you suck. You don't get those opportunities because you're average or because you're ordinary. You get those opportunities because you stand out, because the promoter and the venue believes that you'll bring something to the show, that in some way you can actually help the headliner. Okay? And that's what this band did. That's what this band would have continued to do. We were slated with shows. We have shows booked all the way out till October. And like I said, it pains me that I'm going to have to call these people and cancel out these shows. I'm not looking forward to that. One, like I said, it inconveniences the venues and the promoters. But two, we're supposed to be on that stage. We're supposed to be playing those shows, And again, I go back to, I understand everybody else's perspective, okay? And I respect it, even if I don't understand it, and even if I don't agree with it, okay? But anyway, I've probably gone longer than I even intended to, but I wanted to kind of put a period at the end of the sentence, bring some finality. Everybody talks about closure. I just want closure. Well, I want closure too. And I'm hoping that this brings closure for the people who supported us. And I've talked about venues and promoters and whomever else, but obviously it's the people that showed up to our shows, the people who bought our merchandise, the people who bought our CDs, the 300 subscribers that we have on YouTube, the 500 followers that we have on Facebook, the 800 followers that we have on Reverb Nation. Those are the people that I also want to commemorate, because you can have the greatest promoter in the world, you can have the best facility to play at, you can have the best guys in the band. If people aren't showing up, then there's no point, okay? That is the point, is to take your music and your message to the people, which goes back to what I was saying before, keeping Christ at the center of this band. And that's what we did. Our songs were always about Jesus, about Christ, about getting people saved. That was the goal of this band. That was our mantra. That was our message, our goal. Okay, and we never ever strayed from that, because had we strayed from that, the band would have ended. And you're saying, well, the band's ending anyway. Well, that's because of the people involved, not because of Christ. Okay, it's the people involved, all four of us. We've all contributed to the success, and we've all contributed to this breakup in one way or another. Okay, we just have different perspectives as to whether or not it can or should be reconciled and put back together. That's okay. But I wanted to make this video for closure, so that everybody knows what's going on, so people understand why we're not at these shows that we were booked for. I don't know. And just for myself, I just wanted to explain where I'm coming from, what my perspective is. And I tried to be fair, and I hope I have been, in representing all the guys in the band, what their perspectives are, even if I don't agree, even if I don't understand it, I still respect it. And I still respect them as individuals. It's unfortunate that, this disagreement has led to this, has led to the demise of the band. But I'm still hoping, praying that something will change. It probably won't be anytime soon. just to be honest. It'll probably, if it does happen, it'll be a long time from now. That's okay. It would just be nice. But I have to say this. If this band never ever gets back together, I am proud and I feel satisfied with what we've already done. I think we've done so much that if I was to die today, I would die a happy man. Because, one, my life is good. But two, in regards to the band, we did a lot. We accomplished a lot. Best band by far that I've ever been in. Best musicians that I've ever played with. And these guys are still my friends. They're great guys. I don't agree with them on certain things. I don't agree with their perspectives on certain stuff. And I'm sure they feel the same about me, and that's fine. But they're still my friends. And I hope it remains that way. Like I said, I'll probably start recording my own stuff. And hey, if I need, drums on a certain track, I might call it Grant. If I need bass for something, I'll call it Marty. And if they're willing, that'd be great. If I need a great guitar solo, I know I'll call JT. If they're willing to come in, that'd be great. But I'm not interested in doing Revelation Rain unless it's the four of us. It can't be three of us plus some other guy. It can't be two of us plus two other guys. And it definitely couldn't be one of us with three other guys. It has to be the four of us. JT, Marty, Grant, Rob. And if it's not those four, I'm not interested. I was tempted. We were tempted, to try to carry on with three people. It just wouldn't work. It would not work. It's the four of us that make this band go. Warts and all. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. It's these four people that started the band. If you change one thing, you change everything. Everything changes. Okay? And I've talked about each guy, what they brought to the band. And I can't imagine somebody else playing lead guitar in Revelation Rain, or somebody else playing drums or bass. I just can't do that. And JT felt the same way. And eventually Grant did as well. Marty has a different perspective, and that's okay. Again, I don't agree with his perspective, but I respect his decision. And I understand why he feels that way. Okay? So, no hard feelings, I hope, amongst the guys. I'm hoping that personal relationships can mend and heal. That's first and foremost. That's more important than even the band. So hopefully everyone can get to that point. I know I'm on good terms with all three guys. I hope. Hope it stays that way. There may still be some animosity or whatever between one or two of the guys. Hopefully that will change. Life is too short. Life is way too short. And I'm not saying that we all have to be best friends or whatever else, but at the very least, forgive. Forgive and move forward. Let stuff go. But anyway, everybody, I've gone for almost 45 minutes. Now I understand when my wife says, you talk a lot. I understand that now. I wanted to give some closure. I wanted to kind of wrap everything up. Everybody who's ever supported this band deserves an explanation, especially the like I said, the subscribers, the people that came to the shows, people that have bought our stuff, people who follow us, but also the people that have helped us along the way. Aaron Kroll, Matthew Thomas, Jill Eleanor. Those are the three that really stand out who interviewed us, put us on their podcasts. I mean, that was just phenomenal. Young man, a great photographer, Damian Gibson of ADHD, took some phenomenal pictures of us when we played our show at the Music Factory when we opened for Ripper Owens. I mean, just a great guy. He also interviewed us. Another great interview. I just want to make sure I touch base on everyone because there's been so many people that have helped us out along the way. So I hope I hit everyone. If I missed you, I'm sorry. But yeah, the interviews that we did, I love watching those back. That's just great stuff, especially if you go back to the very first interview we did with Aaron Kroll. this was, I mean, we were only like maybe a couple of months old at that point, and then you watch the progression. We've done 3 different interviews with Aaron Kroll, and if you watch those, you can see the band progressing and growing, and those relationships growing as well. We did 2 interviews with Matthew Thomas, great guy, who also did an excellent review of our debut record. Maybe he'll still do one of our second record. That'd be nice. But he's a great guy. He helps out a lot of bands. Excuse me. You can see the difference between our first interview with Matthew and our second one. Just the way this band was constantly growing and evolving and becoming bigger and better. Even when I look back on our rehearsals from one Friday to the next, you could see progress. You could see this band just growing and becoming better and better all the time. Anyway, I just wanted to do a video to wrap this all up. I am sad and I'm frustrated that it couldn't be worked out. I'm sad because I think this band could have done so much more. We were a young band. 1 year is not very old. 1 year is not very long. We've accomplished a lot in that 1 year, but just imagine what we could have accomplished if we would have had another year or 2 years or 5 years. Imagine what we could have done, where we could have been. So anyway, to JT, Grant, Marty, you guys are still my friends. I hope I'm still your friend. I respect you guys. Even if I don't always agree with you, I respect your decisions. I respect you as individuals, as musicians. I love being in a band with you guys. You guys are great. You're phenomenal. The very best musicians I've ever worked with. Like I said, I don't want to be in any other band but Revelation Rain with the 3 of you. So until that happens, or if that ever happens, I won't be in a band. But just wanted to say thank you to you guys. Because, man, what a great band. What a great band. So we move forward. And for those of you that supported the band, thank you. I hope you continue to support the band. Come to the YouTube channel, watch what's there. If you don't own our CDs, we still have them. You can buy them. Buy our debut on vinyl. There's still some merch that's left. Maybe you'll want that as a memento. I don't know. Just thank you for everyone that supported us. The venues, the promoters, guys that did interviews, gals that did interviews, guys and gals all across the board. They helped this band. Thank you very, very much. So that's it, guys. Revelation Rain is no more. But we have a lot to look back on. So, everybody, take care and God bless.